Hi, I'm David Henry Huang. The poet Muriel Rukeyser once made the unscientific statement that the universe is made of stories, not of atoms. Almost 2,800 people died in America on September 11, 2001, in a horrific attack that brought down the World Trade Center. What emerged from this tragedy are tens of thousands of stories that illustrate the strength of the human spirit and revitalize our belief in the American experience, but not without some ambivalence for many Asian Americans. Like many Americans, Asians held candlelight vigils for those that died, brought hot soup and water to the workers at Ground Zero, donated blood and money to the Red Cross and other charitable organizations. But that sense that we are forever foreign, that we are still guests in America, became even more pronounced for some of us in the weeks and months following September 11th. The Asian American Federation of New York has produced a series of short stories that illustrate this ambivalence. Our first segment begins in Chinatown, one of the most vibrant ethnic enclaves in New York City. Hours after the Twin Towers collapsed, many Chinatown residents, including elders, visited their local police precinct to offer help. But because they were located so close to Ground Zero, their community was blockaded inside a frozen zone that pummeled an already weakened economy.
As I walked out to Chinatown to Canal Mart, I saw the next plane hit. Boom, a big hit. And you saw fire coming out and you saw smoke.
我站在一厂里面啊，站在一厂里面，我在一厂的窗口也看见2个楼房塌下去啊，看得很清楚啊。
People just began walking away from there, and that would take them to the beginning of Mott Street and going north. And they would just, you know, like an army in retreat. That's what I remember vividly.
我们也怕有什么恐怖的分子走进工厂来，所以我们就关门了。
Anything south of East Houston was closed down for the first 3 to 4 days. South of Canal Street, meaning the Chinatown area, was still closed down. Pedestrian going in, coming back into the area was being checked for ID cards.
At least for more than a week, I would say, we were technically, if not in fact, in a state of martial law, where you could not go in or out. We must have had roadblocks for a solid 3 months, if not 4 months.
I've been in Chinatown for almost close to 40 years. I have never seen the street so deserted. That for the first week, that actually you can just walk on the street without bumping into people.
The city kept encouraging people on the one hand, support Lower Manhattan, support Lower Manhattan. Financially, if you go on any of the highways, because of the road restrictions, there were big lighted signs saying avoid Lower Manhattan.
For security reasons, they just block off, but without really thinking about the needs of the community.
These factories need small and large deliveries almost every other day. There were some drivers who were Hispanic or Middle Eastern, and they were getting especially checked. Some of them were pulled out of the truck and frisked. This had an absolute chilling effect on the garment industry because after those experiences, these trucks did not want to bring work downtown. And so the work for the garment industry after several weeks just stopped.
Because the shops are in the community, the workers, they shop in the community, they buy their lunch in the community. So when the industry goes on the decline or when shops close down, it hurts the restaurant business, hurts the grocery stores, Even beauty salons, they can go and get their hair fixed, the haircuts or whatever. So a lot of ripple effect.
According to the Asian American Federation of New York, in the first 3 months following the 9/11 attacks, 40 garment factories were shut down in Chinatown. Some 8,000 garment workers lost their jobs, and restaurants reported a decline of 30 to 70%. The government and charitable organizations came into Chinatown to provide emergency relief.
We are looking at Chinatown as being one of the most affected areas at this time. We know that there's a lot of loss of income in the area. We know that there's a lot of people that need our help. So we have specific teams that are targeted, and we have been hiring locally in the Chinatown area.
I'm happy that CCBA was open to allowing the service organizations to set up booths there, because otherwise a lot of Chinese people wouldn't have been helped. And a lot of Chinese people, you have to realize, are often unwilling to seek help because they feel self-sufficient.
Okay. So just go straight on ahead and they'll get you all set up with that guy in the gray.
Chinatown residents soon realized, however, that if they wanted relief, they would need to visit an official FEMA outpost, such as the one at 141 Worth Street. But even then, it was easy to get lost in the shuffle.
因為 boss 攞唔到啲翻嚟，我哋冇做工，所以生活真係好困難啲啦。
他没有告诉我，他今天在这里等去旧市区那边，也没有说会开绝对会拿得到。
Indeed, many Chinatown residents and workers were denied financial assistance. Those that lived or worked above Canal Street were not eligible for emergency aid. Chinatown was, in effect, split in half, since many of the closed-down factories were located north of Canal Street.
Canal Street is the line that was really drawn so that individuals who were south of Canal Street had the ability to be helped. And the people to the north of that really had to show cause how you were affected.
They had drawn the line at Canal Street. It is a natural dividing line between the Manhattan Bridge and the Holland Tunnel. But in the course of them using this line, they had inadvertently divided up Chinatown into two.
Folks who are north of Canal Street are not entitled to benefits for relief for the 9/11 impact, I think is doing injustice. Especially, we all know, for example, the garment shop is heavily impacted, but yet 70% of the garment shop are north of Canal Street.
It became clear that what Chinatown needed, besides emergency relief, was an infusion of money to retrain laid-off garment workers. In early December, the U.S. Secretary of Labor, Elaine Chao, approved $1 million to retrain several hundred workers in Chinatown.
The September 11th attacks caused an economic shockwave throughout the entire national economy. But in Chinatown, that ripple was more like a tidal wave.
It was really great that she was also to bring in not a whole lot in any meaningful way, in terms of the program, but it is a true effort to say, here's $1 million. Back then, when nobody else was doing anything, to say, here, let's look at addressing the efforts of Chinatown.
The Asian American Federation estimated, however, that $25 to $30 million would be needed to retrain all of the community's laid-off garment workers. Chinatown's garment industry lost $500 million in the year following September 11th. It was clear that the industry had to pull together to remain competitive.
The union realized right after September 11th that one of the main things that we needed for relief was getting jobs back. And so we started a program called Made in New York, which was a promotional activity to try to get the industry on the one hand and consumers on the other hand to look for garments that are made in New York.